Hello everyone, I'm Rob Smith in the Black Quant Edge VTF here, T3 Live with this week's market wrap up. And we finish off the quarter, we finish off the month, and everyone's a loser. We go inside week. So actually, that's pretty good. If you see the SPY, inside week couldn't take out the highs, couldn't take out the lows, and just sitting right there to start off the quarter. So that's going to be mighty important coming into that. If we go to the daily, you're going to see this, and here. What you're going to see is this, once again, the Brexit triangle, then this bigger triangle here where we come in here. But more importantly here, not only are we inside week, but you can recall here this series of days. I want to get down to this so you could see it nice and clearly. This day here, you can remember this day right in here. It was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 days inside of this range, and then the slight higher high. And since then, we've been dropped back. We're putting in a slight series of higher lows here, but now we're inside week. So the question is this that slight higher high, and then we drop back down and test the bottom of the triangle, or we can go inside week and start running again? Well, it's October. We shall see. We're still waiting on a bunch of interest rates, but so far, I would say that overall the market took some hits again, and is still on ticking. And what I mean by that is, we came in and we've got Wells Fargo, and right out the chute we had some banks, start to come down. The FAS right at the beginning of the week did this gap down. I'll go back here, gap down, and could have taken a nice hit, but did not. It was pretty resilient. You can see it came in here like this. Now Wells Fargo itself did this because remember the inside week here a few weeks ago, inside week down, and then inside week momentum shooter into the lows. Doesn't get destroyed. Well, it depends on whether you're long or not, but it certainly does go down. But that certainly could have been more of a hit. And then Deutsche Bank trying to get slammed, and then what did they do to them? Yeah, they gave them the old right back up on you. And so what you're looking at here, when you have this long red bar, high volume, and then gap back up and take it out, kicking pattern, that was very powerful today, and that helps support them. And we're watching Bank of America. Bank of America came up real strong, and if you look at this, you're going to see this big 60-minute triangle here, and got all the way through it. If you go to the 30, you'll see a few of the things I talk about here. One is this momentum hammer here, right here on the 30, and that really got this triangle going. As with the Deutsche Bank news yesterday, people thinking, we can lay in short, and they just stuck it right to them, blow through the strike, and then use that triangle as support. If you look at the 15er, you'll see this 15 momentum hammer here, and so that's one of those things you want to look for. Let alone the kicking pattern daily. You might remember something similar here in Brexit day. Here we go, right here. Everything's the end of the world. They blow them out on high volume to the lows, a la right here. Next day, gap in they face, and that's all she wrote. So that's some of the things that we saw there. So, part of the momentum hammers that we saw also today, really, is after we had NXPI and Qualcomm trying to get together here and just doing some ripping, and going into some of the semis just today. SWKS, here you can see we had this nice, here if you look at the series, something's moving up. First of all, we got the inside 30 right here, never comes back, very nice. RevStrat inside 30, opens and closes back in there, and within that stuff you'll also see those momentum hammers. You're going to see one here, which is also a RevStrat because this is inside. Here, momentum hammer here. I think we had AMBA doing it like so, AMBA and a couple others, and there's an inside bar there, some nice stuff like that. But the king goes out near the highs. Amazon was quite the month, just really sticking it to him and going out at the highs. So another hit that we took this week that we survived very well was energy. And if we take a look at that, you remember we have crude oil number on Wednesday, and then we had a meeting that same day and turned everything around. And, one of the things, I'd make a video every night for the subscribers, and I talked about that before it happened, because if anything goes right here, now we had this big turnaround here, right there's Wednesday, the ripper back up, and the reason that was important was because if we looked at the XLE and the XOP, what we saw here was this was not inside, but this was a hammer potentially off the bottom of the triangle here. So if this hammer kicks in, XOP is reversal strat by being a hammer next countering an inside bar. It was also an OIH. here, and we had a whole series of that, and you had slob trying to hammer off the lows, and you can see this broadening formation here. This is how we use those broadening formations to look for reversals. And since every stock was doing it at the same time, and we had Halliburton coming up too, we had just a whole slew of them. Since it happened at the same time, it was fairly easy to identify. The other thing that we had going there, you hear me call simultaneous break. And what that means is, if we go to the 60-minute here, back on Wednesday, here you'll see this inside 60. At that time, the S&P Spider went inside 60 up. We had the Qs, we had all the broader averages going 60 with the oils and all these reversals going on in the energies. And so at that time, if you look at the weekly charts, we put it together this way. XLE took out the lows and comes back through. XOP does the same off an inside week, which makes it a one-bar reversal strategy as it counters that inside bar. But more importantly is we can take these relationships, and we want to go after the stocks that were too strong to take out the lows when they come back up through the inside week. So that'd be your Chevron, that'd be Carrizo. And so just a few ways to put that stuff away, put that information together. It's when to get yourself higher levels of probability. Now, I do a much longer breakdown of the market over the weekend. Smiths in the Black on YouTube, all one word. I also tweeted out at Robin the Black. So if you want to watch a little bit more of a market breakdown, you can get it from that. Another thing I do on Twitter is I tweet out hashtag mind the gap in the morning because we want to play the things that are gapping. And so today, just for instance, what we looked at was CTSH. Here in CTSH, once again, this is an inside week, and on this gap, it went up, and then on this gap, it comes down in one bar on the inside month, or on the inside week. That's a rev strat in and of itself. The monthly was inside month, and then up and back in shooter against it. That's a rev strat month. And then if you come in the morning, we look at for the opening gap, we had an inside 15 and down here. There was an inside 5 up in here. And then later in the day, we want to go after it again anytime that 60 turns back red. And so it retraced 60 red and goes back inside 15 and down there for just a little bit more. Another one we had was TWLO. And TWLO here in a market that was strong was inside day to the downside. And it was broken originally by an inside 60, and then it pops back up, goes inside 60 down again, and also on that move comes up and goes inside 15 to turn that 60 back red. So just a few of those things that we look for during the day. So we do have inside months in some of these banks, which will be interesting as we get closer to December. So you got an inside month in Citicorp, you got an inside month in Bank of America. So like I said, I'm going to go through a lot more over the weekend, but we basically held up. And the thing that we're going to be looking for right out the chute, we got Doji month in the SPY, but we certainly have an inside week. And so either side of that week, not only are we going to respect that, but we want to start to see if all the sectors start to line up. We've taken a few hits and survived as far as the energy market, as far as the financials. We've had weakness in the XRT retail, some jumpiness in the IBB, and certainly some strength in the technology sector. So I want to see how all this lines up, and I'm going to do that over the weekend in the weekend video. But for right now, hope everybody had a great week. We've got a holiday on Monday. The market is open, might be a little quiet. Want to see how we break this to start the quarter and whether it's confirmed by all the sectors. So everybody have a great weekend. I'm Rob Smith. I'm in the Black Quantedge VTF here, T3 Live with this week's market wrap up.